Hello, now you will hear a brief summary of the movie Paddington 2. Enjoy watching. An elderly bear couple who adores orange marmalade plans a trip to London. Suddenly, they spot a little bear being carried by a fast-flowing river towards a waterfall. Risking their lives, they save the cub. Years pass, and instead of them, the bear they rescued, Paddington, ends up in London. The bear lives with the Brown family and befriends the entire neighborhood. The owner of an antique shop, Mr. Gruber, discovers a box of old items belonging to a certain Madame Kozlova and offers Paddington to choose a gift from them for his aunt's 100th birthday. Paddington finds a pop-up book about London, which would be the perfect present for the bear, who has always dreamed of visiting the city. However, Mr. Gruber disappoints Paddington by revealing that the book is highly valuable and too expensive for an ordinary bear. Paddington takes a job as a cleaner in a barber shop, but a customer mistakes him for the actual barber and asks him to give him a haircut. Grabbing a razor, the bear immediately loses control and shaves a strip of hair off the sleeping man's head. Trying to fix the mistake, the clumsy bear attempts to stick the hair clippings back with orange marmalade. But his trick is quickly discovered, and the returning barber fires the careless assistant. In the evening, the family goes to the amusement park, where their new neighbor, Phoenix Buchanan, is performing on stage. He used to be a famous actor, but now advertises dog food. Phoenix chooses Paddington to open the fair. The actor asks the bear to share his dream, and Paddington tells him about the Madame Kozlova's book, which he wants to give to his aunt. Phoenix becomes interested in the book and asks where Paddington saw it. The bear tells him everything. Paddington tries to earn money for the book by washing windows. He takes out a folding ladder and a bucket from his suitcase. However, when filled with water, the bucket becomes too heavy. Paddington hoists the bucket up, using his own body as a counterweight, but his plan doesn't go well. Despite facing difficulties and using unconventional methods, the bear manages to complete the task and washes all the windows on the street. However, the malicious Mr. Curry is not pleased with the bear's activities. Paddington works hard every day, cleaning windows all over the city with himself and a brush. The bottle filled with coins gradually fills up. One more day of work, and Paddington will be able to buy the gift for his aunt. Suddenly, he sees a thief breaking into Mr. Gruber's shop. The bear goes after him, but when the alarm goes off, the thief grabs the book and manages to escape. The police officer arrives at the crime scene and finds Paddington there. Paddington is chasing a thief on his familiar mud, Wolf. While riding through the bushes, he accidentally hops onto a swan, Lebed. His antics manage to shock a man, causing him to fall off his bicycle. The swan also dislodges Paddington, but he is quickly picked up again by Wolf. The thief pretends to surrender, but suddenly throws a smoke bomb at their feet and disappears in the smoke. Left standing in the middle of the street is a lone bear, who is promptly arrested. The neighbors learned about the crime. They threw the bear into a car and took him to the police station, while the thief turned out to be Phoenix Buchanan. He is pleased that the police accused someone else of the crime. The actor talks to mannequins and dreams of returning to the big stage by performing a one-man show. To raise the necessary funds, he plans to obtain a treasure with the help of an album. On each page, a little lady provides hints that will lead him to the treasure, so he can finally stop eating dog food on camera. The trial of Paddington's case began, and it turned out that the judge was the same man whose hair the bear had given a fashionable trim. Mr. Gruber doesn't believe that his friend could have robbed the store, but paw prints were found all over the building, along with orange marmalade.
Is this the same marmalade?
Yes, it is.
Buchanan gives testimony, and he's a scoundrel. Supposedly, he saw a bear that night and wasn't actually chasing anyone. That's how Paddington ended up with a 10-year sentence for theft and severe hair damage. Upon entering the cell, the bear cub asked the guard to read him a bedtime story, but for some reason the guard refused. Meanwhile, the Browns are busy searching for the real thief, and Phoenix infiltrated the historical museum and found the first clue, the letter D. Paddington was sent to work in the laundry. He tossed the striped uniform into the washing machines and accidentally threw in a red sock, turning the gray uniform pink. And nobody liked that.
If you ask me, the pink really brightens the place up a bit.
Paddington was offered to clap his paw and have a good meal. Perhaps for the last time. However, the food turned out to be absolutely dreadful. But nobody dares to point that out to the chef, nicknamed Knuckles. The brute sent the bear to investigate the matter. This way, he can redeem his blunder with the form.
Mr. Knuckles?
Yes?
I just wondered if I could have a quick word about the food.
Send a medic to the canteen.
The little bear complained about the lumpy porridge. Knuckles smacked him on the head with a baguette and smeared ketchup and mustard all over it. Knuckles was already planning to make a cheeky pie with the bear. But then a divine sandwich with marmalade landed in his mouth. Learning that Paddington also knows how to cook, the authority declared that from now on, the bear is under his protection.
You get my protection, so long as you make that marmalade. Deal?
Deal?
Mr. Grubo is surprised that the thief stole the album specifically, considering there were much more valuable items around it. The Browns visited Madame Kozlova's great-granddaughter and asked her to tell them about her relative. She was the greatest circus performer of her time, particularly renowned for her aerial acrobatics, which made her wealthy. The illusionist wanted to take her riches and tampered with the rope. Falling from a height, the circus performer met a fatal end. However, upon opening the safe, the scoundrel found no treasures, only a folding album. In order to avoid capture, the illusionist disappeared along with the album, never to be seen again. Mrs. Brown suspected that the album contained clues leading to the treasures. In order to gain entry to St. Paul's Cathedral, Phoenix disguised himself as a nun. In the middle of the night, Knuckles woke up Paddington and sent him to the kitchen to make marmalade.
Oh. Well, after you.
Why, so you can stab me in the back?
The chef refuses to help the bear, so he will have to deal with 1,000 oranges on his own. Paddington constantly mentions his Aunt Lucy, which annoys Knuckles, who then insults the bear as an old purse. In response, Paddington puts on his famous stern look that makes the authority figure tense up. He often uses it himself. After praising the prisoner's hands, Paddington suggests they would make excellent juices. This attracts Knuckles to join in making marmalade. An incident occurred in the cathedral at night. One nun went crazy and broke a statue. Phoenix discovered the letter C on it. He broke the statue to distract the guard's attention. When reinforcements arrived from the cathedral, instead of the nun, the bishop was already leaving. For breakfast, Paddington presented a dish from the chef, marmalade between 2 crustless slices of bread. All the inmates were absolutely delighted and greeted Knuckles with applause. Paddington suggested that the others participate as well if they knew how to cook. It turned out that the prisoners knew quite a few recipes.
And I can make a strawberry panna cotta with a pomegranate glaze.
Soon the kitchen was filled with culinary masterpieces, and the dining hall was named Aunt Lucy's Tea Club. The prison blossomed, and the guard started reading fairy tales to the inmates at night. The Browns came to see Paddington and told him about their investigation. The bear introduced his family to his new friends. Mr. Brown didn't like them at all.
And as for that bearded baboon in the middle, he's hardly got 2 brain cells to rub together.
We can still hear you, Mr. Brown.
The man was lucky that the inmates weren't vindictive. They were willing to help with the investigation. However, the suspects' portraits were extremely strange, almost like a masquerade. Mr. Curry hinders the search by accusing Paddington of being a thief. He is the only one pleased that the bear has been arrested. Mrs. Brown jokingly asked the parrot where the thief was, and the bird replied, "He's right behind you." Just as she turned around, Felix emerged from the balcony. The actor boasted to his neighbor that he had probably found the money to finance his one-man show, and oddly referred to the thief as a handsome blue-eyed man, even though all the sketches were black and white. Mrs. Brown speculated that Felix might be the one they were looking for, but now they needed to figure out how to expose him. The inmates communicate through the pipes at night. Knuckles promises to help Paddington find the real thief, but they would need to escape from prison to do so. The bear refuses, and the inmates try to convince him that the Browns will soon forget about him. However, they do everything they can to help him. Mrs. Brown hides in a large basket that supposedly needs to be delivered to Felix. The children visit his agent and record their conversation on a dictaphone. They use the recording of a woman's voice to lure Felix out of his house, and he flees to a meeting at a restaurant. Mrs. Brown emerges from the basket, which her husband spots from the window, prompting him to enter the same house. The couple discovers that the actor has a mountain of debts. He is bankrupt. They then find a secret entrance to the attic.
I mean, look, it's just a perfectly normal... Oh, my God, he's a weirdo.
In Brown's attic, they found costumes of both a thief and a nun, so it turns out it's still the Phoenix. The actor himself returned for his scarf and discovered a neighbor hiding behind the couch.
What on earth are you doing here? I might ask you the same thing.
They found Phoenix and Mrs. Brown. They lied that they were inspecting the neighbor's house. After all, Mr. Brown works as an insurance agent. Phoenix pretended to believe them and immediately checked if the album was still in place. The actor had already collected all the letters, or rather notes, and now they needed to be played in a specific location. With all the evidence, the Browns went to the police, but the officer refused to listen to them without any proof. For the first time, the family was late and didn't come to meet Paddington. The bear thought they had started to forget about him. During the night, he dreamt that he was back in the Peruvian jungle and met Aunt Lucy. Paddington agreed to participate in the escape. First, they sneaked through the laundry room. Then the little bear climbed the clock tower using the gears and found the chief security officer's office with all the keys. The prisoners made their way to the rooftop and constructed an air balloon out of sheets and a large basket, on which they escaped from the prison. The criminals changed into regular clothes and landed near the airfield. It turned out that the fugitives had no intention of helping the bear. They were leaving the country immediately. Knuckles had to lie. Otherwise, Paddington wouldn't have agreed to help them. The bear became upset and ran away. He left a message for the Browns, saying that he had escaped from prison and bid them farewell. Mrs. Brown immediately called back, and the little bear learned that no one had forgotten about him. Furthermore, they had discovered who the real thief was. They agreed to meet at the train station. The carnival train is departing from there today. It was the final clue that led to it. The garbage collector from his street helped the bear, and all the neighbors of the Browns, who pushed the stalled car, helped them. They all want Paddington to come back home. The bear ran through the station pretending to be a trash bin.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Nothing to see here, officer. Just a bin.
Paddington spotted the actor and jumped onto the train after him. Meanwhile, the Browns were running late but didn't give up. Jonathan, who knows about steam engines, managed to hijack one. In the meantime, the fugitives heard on the radio that their furry friend had been spotted at the train station and the police would soon apprehend him. He was probably right beneath them at that moment. It turned out that the illusionist killer was Phoenix's grandfather. The actor found a carnival organ and started pressing the right keys. Paddington used caramel apples to move across the roofs of the train cars, while the rest of the family jumped from the steam engine to the train. Mr. Brown had to recall what he had learned in his yoga classes. Phoenix entered the correct combination, and a treasure box unfolded before him. However, the bear took the album and frightened the thief. The organ closed shut again, and Phoenix couldn't remember the combination. He chased after Paddington until he fell down. The Browns were about to capture him, but Phoenix armed himself with a sword and immobilized the entire family. However, Mrs. Bird also knew a few tricks. The bear attempted to reach the steam engine using a folding ladder, but the actor pulled him back. He took the album and detached the wagon with the bear, but he himself got hit in the forehead by Mr. Brown's ball. The wagon with the bear went downhill and fell into the water. Mrs. Brown jumped from the bridge into the water and was almost able to save Paddington, but the door was chained shut. It seemed there was no way out of this situation. However, the bear's prison friends swam up to the wagon and broke the chain. Paddington was saved, but he fell ill. He woke up at home 3 days later. The Browns informed him that he had been cleared of all charges, and Phoenix was thrown behind bars. It happened to be Aunt Lucy's birthday today, and Paddington hadn't managed to get her a gift. But there was nothing to worry about, because all the neighbors came to visit him and told him they had pitched in for a present. They brought Aunt Lucy here so she could finally see London with her own eyes.